Everybody hear me okay? Oh, I can sound just like Dean Martin. Oh, I can sound just like him. Really? Really? I know. Dino was king out there. You know, he was such a great singer. Such an underrated singer. Yeah. Always liked Dean Martin, but he was a great singer. Great singer. As great as he was in Vegas, as long as he was in Vegas. But as far as just how good a singer he was, very underrated. Great singer. Great singer. Hello, brother. Brother. Go holler at Elaine. Hey, Elaine. How are you? As far as all rights go? Yeah. Maybe. 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 Hi, Michelle. I'm good. How are you? Good to see you, dear. How's everything in your world? Dalton's good. He's doing good. Liking his work.
They'll find out Friday.
Okay.
I'm hoping. Give him something else to do, you know.
Big paycheck. He might like, I think I'm all about this work thing. Yeah. Yeah. But man, when he sees that first paycheck, you're like, now I think I know why people go to work. It takes that first. Everybody. Hello, Sherry. Brother, how are you? I'm doing well. It's good to see you. Good to see you.
Don't this lady here favor Brenda?
Yeah. Yeah, she does.
That's
Who
my
is that?
sister.
That's your sister-in-law. Now, so your brother, what is his?
She's gone to be with Jesus.
She's gone. So what's your
He's
brother-in-law's name?
brother's named Bobby.
Bobby.
He's in his 80s.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
He lived down around Summersville too?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. We'll get ready to get started. Know it all. I didn't see the second line. I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everybody here tonight. We have got a wonderful lesson, and it's a challenging lesson. It's a lesson for everybody, and everybody falls into the need to have some skill set here. So, blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers. This is in Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So as we get ready to get into this, Brother David, open us up in prayer, would you, brother? Yes, Father. Amen. Thank you, Brother David. We've got a nice crowd here tonight. We're missing a few, but a lot going on, vacations going on, schools out, people traveling, all the above. But we're so thankful for everyone that is here. And it'll be a good study, but it's going to be challenging. So when we look at the Beatitudes, kind of get us back in the fold here. Blessed are, or happy are you, So in this case here, happy are you if you are a peacemaker, for you will be the sons of God. So when we look at, the first thing we've got to do here is we got to look at, when we talk about being a peacemaker, it's pretty broad. Somebody would think, well, peacemaker, that's just trying to give love, keep love and harmony and everybody getting along. That's only part of what this verse means. That's only part. So when we look at it where it says, blessed are the peacemakers, there's a lot of areas that we must have peace in our life. We need peace at the workplace. We need peace in our families. We need peace at church. And guess what? You need peace with yourself as well. You must live a life where you are in agreement on who you want to be. We do not need to have a civil war going on in our soul. Everybody see what I'm saying? The battle between good and evil, we do not need that in our life. That creates a great struggle. So when we talk about blessed are the peacemakers, this is what we're talking about. It's very broad. It's very broad. So as we look to get into this, blessed are the peacemakers. So we're going to open this up, and I'm going to get some comments. But let's start out in the world, and blessed are the peacemakers. And we're going to use it in the term that it is really talking about. One of the areas it's talking about how, if you are going to be called on as a person to mediate between two people, or to go and head a meeting, or do whatever, and we need to get some parties together, they've called on you to do it. Okay? They've called on you to do it. I want to know what attributes you need to have as a peacemaker to alleviate this problem. So as a peacemaker, what attributes do we need to have in our body? Yes? Okay, very good. Now, to see both sides, absolutely true. So if we're going to see both sides, so what's some things that I've got to make sure in my life? Here's one of the things. That's a good place to start. Because if we are a peacemaker, and we've been called on to be a peacemaker, we cannot go into it with a decision and have a personal vendetta with one side over the other. We've got to be able to see both sides. And we've got to have a mindset to see both sides. And to do that. And so you not have to see it, you have to listen to both sides and then make a decision. You cannot make it personal. You cannot go into it with a volatile personality or a volatile spirit. You must keep a calm spirit about you as well. Let's bring it in the church. Let's bring it in the church. All right? So, hey, Lily. So, as we bring it in the church, and Brother Brock, we'll use Brother Brock as the pastor. Something that he never wants to see in his church, but he may see in his church, and that is where some church members cannot get along. They cannot get along. They've had a fuss. They've got into it. So he as a pastor, he is the mediator, and he must work these things out. He cannot let it go. You can't just when you have an issue and it's a problem, you can't just let it go and do nothing and expect everything to work it out. I have, for whatever reason, I do not know, but this is a part of my life that in my work, I am in this all the time. All the time. As somebody says, Ron, we've got two parties, they're not together, this one's not communicating, there's a problem, this one don't like their house, this one, the person that built the house, he don't like the house owner. There's a million areas where I get drawn into all the time. And this past week, I got a call, so I get this text on my phone, said, Ron, so-and-so, this group are mad because so-and-so did this. Okay, all right. So they're mad, they're angry. So what I have to do, let a little bit of dust settle, call the parties, get the parties together, get their thoughts, why they're angry, get the history, and then bring about reconciliation. It works well. However, if we as peacemakers, and we're going to be peacemakers, we cannot go into it with a haughty attitude. I know more than you about these subjects. I know this, I'm that, or I'm all that. That will not work. And when you are working as a peacemaker to bring parties back together. if you do not love people, if you do not respect people and respect people's opinion and side, do not take on the role of a peacemaker. Now, if in your heart, blessed are the peacemakers, if we know in our heart that I just don't do well here, I'm mad about it. I'm mad. So we're mad at one side over another, do not get involved in it till when we're the peacemakers. So when Christ talks about blessed are the peacemakers, because remember the last half, as peacemaker, people have got to see me as a child of God. Through all else, these attributes that we're going to show, I must be a child and impress people as a child of God, a follower of Christ would be. So, attributes of a peacemaker. Yes, Paul. Got to be a good listener, absolutely. Yep, good listener. Yes, Ron. You got to be at peace with God. You've got to be. Let's look at this at what Scripture plainly says. Blessed are the peacemakers. Having people get along. So blessed are the peacemakers, not fuss and fight all the time. And so, from what? No, poor people just get along with each other, not fussing and fighting. There's peace between them. Yeah. And so, yeah. So, Ron, say that again, please, would you? Can you remember what you said there a minute ago? You need to be at peace with God. You've got to have those characteristics of a Christian. You must love people. Hi, Mike. You must love people. If you're not a lover of people and a respecter of people, stay out. Stay out. It will not work. Okay? Yes, Victoria. Yeah. Yeah. And so where you can see some vision. Yes, some vision. And here, okay. So, very important. And here's what she says here is so important. She talks about a discernment, but here's the key. You've got to want to make things better. You've got to want to hear from God. You can't just step into a situation as a peacemaker and think that all the knowledge and the understanding is enough. The attributes of God are what are enough. Okay, very good. Good thought. Yes, Tracy. Can't take sides. I had, yes, Roseanne, go ahead and we'll come back to that.
You need a sense of being calm yourself.
Absolutely. You've got to keep your cool. Keep your head. Listen to everybody, listen to the parties, and go from there. But there's a person told me one time, Ron, and this individual was, hey, Hannah. And so this individual was a husband and his wife was having trouble. And they were young. And the young minister, he was young as well. Well, he was working with this young couple, give you an idea where he was working with this young couple. And as it turns out, he ended up working more with the young couple, the wife, than he did equally between man and wife. So he started to decide and take the side of the wife. Well, what is so bad about that? Might it be the right side? Maybe, but that's not the issue here. So the old saying is, it don't make any difference how flat a pancake is, it still has two sides. And so when we get in a situation and there's two sides and two parties, make sure you hear them both and learn what's going on in the situation. How many have listened to a side in something and you took a side and then realized later you took the wrong side? How many has ever done that? Like, whoa, when you heard, in Scripture, and I'm going to paraphrase here, and what Scripture says, be careful listening to one that runs to tell you his story first, because in just a little bit, the next person will come along to tell you the rest of the story. And that's actually in Scripture. And so everybody say, well, Ron, where's that? I've never heard that. Well, it's in there, so you'll have to find it. You'll have to find it. It's there. And it's in Proverbs, but it's in Proverbs. So we wanted to make them look for it. That's what we really wanted to do. So I get drawn into this a lot, and it's what Sister Victoria said is very important. Because at times, my mood, if you're stressed, if you're this, that, or whatever, there's times I have to talk to myself, Ron, you need to get yourself together. Get yourself together here. Do not be, don't do something dumb. Your mindset is not where it needs to be. You're not thinking right. Settle yourself down before you go see all these people. Because here's what you're trying to do. With both parties, you want to be friends with both parties. That's how we're going to work through the problem and come to a peaceful solution. You are friends with both sides because you love people. You want to see it go forth. You don't want enmity between them. Just like Brother Brock as the pastor. He does not want enmity between church members breaks his heart. Enmity between church members will wear your pastor slick. Nothing will break his heart, a pastor's heart faster than when his part of his flock, they are not at ease with each other. So he does not have an issue. Here's what he must do. And somebody say, Ron, you must mean a peacemaker. Avoid confrontation at all costs. That is not a peacemaker. That is not a peacemaker. Avoid confrontation at all cost, but many times people will avoid confrontation thinking, I'll just be peaceful. When the truth is, you not addressing the situation, thinking it's going to get better, the situation is only going to get worse. So when you're talking about blessed are a peacemaker sometimes is the individual that has to take action. I cannot always go and sit on a situation and wait. Some situations take action to resolve. And so when we talk about being peaceful, we can have the right attitude. And the right attitude as a child of God and making peace with everybody. But being a peacemaker at times requires action. Can't always just sit and avoid. It takes action. Discernment. It takes that for that. You can't just do that. So as we look at things and say, well, Ron, if you're saying there might be confrontation, our attitude, when you're in situations like that, our attitude, we still have a call that we must have a right attitude with God. Our heart must still be in the right place. We still have the mindset of a peacemaker, but we still have to take action. Sometimes we have to take a stand. Everybody see where I'm coming from on that? That's the way that has to go. Let me give this to Hannah before I forgot. Sharpen her big knife. There you go. Be careful. That is razor sharp. All right, so now, what else? What else, church, Paul?
The person leading has got to have a good prayer life because he's got to hear from God to do the right thing.
You do. You got to seek direction. If you want to be and I'm going to be a little bit blunt here, if you want to be a peacemaker and you think you're all that and so clever and know all the right answers on the issues, you need to find somebody else to play the peacemaker role because you're going to get blasted right out of your saddle. You are. So we must, at all costs, as peacemakers, we must have the personality of Christ. That must accompany. Everybody see what I'm saying? We must do that. So when you're called, most of the time I get a call, and it's a lot. As I mentioned, this is a big part of my life. And so you can probably hear me every time I get one of these calls or text message or phone call, always grumbling. Because you don't ever want to do that. You never want to hear that somebody is not getting along. They've had a confrontation. They're into it. You never want to hear that. You never want to go. You know you've got to go, but I wish somebody would call me. I wish somebody would get into it and call me on the phone. I'd get to go work it out. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Nobody's going to call. Yes? Oh. That is so good. That is so important. You got to be patient. I can remember when Virgil Sheets was a deacon here for a long, long time. And Brother Virgil and we'd all be working on something, usually search committee, and Brother David, I know, can remember this. And we would have decisions in front of us, and we'd be looking at pastoral candidates and all of these things, and we'd be discussing and talking all about. And Brother Virgil, which was an elderly person at the time, and Brother Virgil, he always talked real slow. I never will forget his words. He would always say, I think I'd like to pray about this one more day. Now think of the wisdom of that. I think I'd like to pray about this one more day. The wisdom in that is incredible. It's the same thing when your grandma or maybe your mom or dad, they used to tell us we'd get frustrated, there'd be a problem. And remember when mom or grandma would tell you, why don't you sleep on it tonight? Remember that? Mom would say that, grandma would say that. Why don't you sleep on it tonight? That is some of the best advice anybody can ever give. Do not act hastily. Take your time. Think about it. Let the Lord speak to you. Don't be impatient. Take some time. Other thoughts, attributes of a peacemaker. Other thoughts? Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike.
Just then I was thinking of the noble bereavement. The noble bereavement. Not taking reference, you check things out. Check through scripture, they check things out. And somehow, that's a part of it. Part of it, God says, you need to check around a little bit more and do a little more research on this situation. And don't be so lazy and just take it for granted.
Yeah.
But why were those Bereans noble? Because they checked things out.
Yeah. It's good to know what is going on. Learn what you can, know what you can, and then act accordingly. It will save you much, much grief. Did I see another hand over here? Attributes of a peacemaker. What else we got? Dustin, you got anything? Attributes of a peacemaker. Pray.
Be careful not to use that you scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
You say that to be seriousness behind it, that you're going to seek God's will and ask God to show you what instead of
Yeah, you're indicating you're going to take action. So if that is our indication, let's follow through on our indication. Very good. Good thoughts on this. Anybody else want to be a peacemaker? All right. God's going to use us as a peacemaker. Brother David, you got anything to share?
Maybe.
Let's hear it.
I think of answers.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah.
You got a woman that are Christian. They're not asking God to guide. See, believe same one. They're just not asking God to guide. But we would consider those people peacemakers
Yeah.
because they're keeping trouble away from our lives.
And you would hope that they would abide by their training, because their training that they get, although not Christian, is going to be similar to ours about learn the situation, learn what's going on. Do not make an improper decision. Yes, Sherry.
We can't get so naive thinking other people do we.
Yeah. Yeah. We are indeed. Yep. So very good, very good. You know, there's a reason when someone goes to law school and you look in a lawyer's office and they got books from floor to ceiling and wall to wall, there's a reason that they are there. There's a reason that they are there. They're trying to find right decision making on particular subjects. Sherry?
Okay, two things. Proverbs 18:17. Until
Yes, indeed.
when they were in law school, they never read the Constitution.
the only thing they did was read about what other judges, lawyers, whatever said about it. I'm like, that would be like only reading people that talk about what the Bible says and never reading the Bible. That's not correct.
Not the full package, we would say. Very good. We have peacemakers, and we talked about peace lovers also, and the peace lover was the one that loved peace even more than when they have something they need to address peace, but just for the sake of not wanting any confrontation, they won't address even what they need to. That's a peace lover. Notice in this beatitude, blessed are the peacemakers. It doesn't say blessed are the peace lovers. So blessed are the peacemaker that works. Sometimes making peace between people, it is very difficult. It is very difficult and very hard, and it can cause lots of trouble. So, yes, Brother Rob. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it's a blast. Yeah. It does. It does. That's kind of what, thank you, Brother Brock. When we talked about this earlier, and when you're a peacemaker and someone wants you to resolve and the Lord has given you discernment and all the above, that still, all those things being said, does not mean that your heart will not get broke. It will get broke. Yes, Victoria.
Peacemaker. Can't take it personal.
Yeah, you cannot. You've got to hold together, because remember, if you have one meeting with someone in relation to putting people and restoring people back together, you must maintain that relationship, because it may require meeting again, maybe again. Because if we meet, typically, like I'll try to meet with a few people, then I'll try to meet with a larger group of people in the organizations, and then kind of go out from there. So at the end of your first meeting as a peacemaker, you've got to be together. You've got to have a relationship with all people. It must retain, or I have no second step. Everybody see what I'm saying? I've got to have that all together. There's nowhere to go. Barbie, have a thought?
They need to understand up front that you need to convey with them that you'll be listening to both sides. If one of the individuals in the problem is coming to you, sometimes they think that they're asking you because they want you to be on their side.
Thank you. Very good. Cannot have that. That cannot be a part of it either. Very good, Barb. Very good. Other thoughts? Attributes? Yes, Paul.
I think when you're dealing with people, your tone has a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And correctional officer for 15 years, and inmates get into it, and they get mad at you. And if you want to get on their level and use their tone and stuff, then you're not going to get nowhere. But I've noticed when I just stay my normal voice and don't,
Just keep calm.
yeah,
They can be upset.
they eventually
They'll calm down.
calm down. So.
They'll calm down.
Then they're able.
You've got to remember. So whatever you do, peacemakers, you've got to hold your people together. You've got to get them in a position where we can work for them. Okay? If you're having a crabby day, that's not the day you need to play peacemaker, because you don't have the right frame of mind. Okay? They don't have the right frame of mind. So know, and the discernment, know where you're at, where you're going, and what you got to do. Richard, you have any thoughts? Okay. All right. Now, so as we move forward, being a peacemaker is not just about not addressing an issue because we don't want any confrontation. A peacemaker, we have to plow through and continue to work until we get a resolve and get a team established to, let me give you an example. It's a little bit off, but so in putting together boards and committees and things like that, it took me a long time to realize, Ron, don't pick everybody just because they agree with you. You think that is wise, that is not wise. Do not pick everyone that will agree with you when you're forming an opinion or working as a peacemaker or whatever. You want diverse thought. Because for me to pick everybody who's in agreement to me or with me is saying that I'm always right. I'm not always right. So we must be careful when we're working in committee or whatever and accept the fact all your thoughts, Ron, are not right. All your plans are not right. All your decisions are not right. You must accept, be humble. Be humble. So when you get people and you're trying to get a strong committee and a strong group of people, get people that are diverse in thought. Now you might say, Ron, you don't want a committee where you can't get anything done. Didn't say that. I said just get people that are different in thought, people that will still work together. If you look up Robert's Rules of Order, okay, and a lot of you haven't are familiar with that, but if you look at Robert's Rules of Order, it'll tell you, keep in mind, you can have diversity on committee, but still keep in mind that you must have committee that's going to get the desired work done. So you've still got to get the work done, but you want the most diverse thought that you can get because it will make the best decision. Brother Tommy, do you have any thoughts? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So if we work in our church houses, all right, let's go with what Brother Tommy says here. Now, we don't get all the committees that we're on are not church committees. I want to tag on to just a little bit of what he says because what he says is extremely important. If we are in church, now you can slap me after service, but if we are in this church and in this house and we are chosen by committee, we must act exactly like he says. We are brothers in Christ. That is our director, and being his children is our directive. Everybody see what we're saying? So now if we move our committee and we're on the outside of the church, we may have saved and unsaved on the committee, but I always have that obligation as a child of God to act accordingly. Act accordingly. So, but in God's house, if you heard, and of course, and I've been to church a long time because I'm an old guy, but when you hear churches where the people are fussing and fighting and being mean and being angry and hateful with each other, somebody is in the wrong. You might disagree. You might disagree passionately, but making it personal and hurting our brother or sister is sin. Sin. So as we are peacemakers in God's house, everybody may not always be perfectly happy or in perfect agreement either. However, there is a right way for me to act, and I will answer to God accordingly for it, as will you. All right. Now, yeah, Brother Rock. What we need to do in that case, two issues I think we need to do, but that individual, when they are offending a non-believer, we need to talk to that individual. They need to be aware of what they've done. They need to be aware, and I've done that. I'm talking about I've been the offender. You know, and to where you have to go and fix it. Fix it. Did that answer your question enough? But the individual, Brother Brock, that we've offended, the unsaved, we don't want that person to be left unaddressed either. That person who's unsaved, that's got to try to fix him as well, or her. Did you have anything anything else to add to that? No? Okay. Pardon? Yeah. It still goes, you still got to try to make it right. You still got to make it right. I've since seen things, I've seen some bad things happen at this church as well, where people acted to other Christians in a very, very, very bad way. And were not addressed. Okay? So, we as God's house, we have things we've got to work to keep things together. So, we are the children of God, and we are the sons of God. That's what we are called. Let's see, our time's going to get away from us. Here is the deal. When we, as God's children, will we make the world a better place for all men and women? Will my actions, will Barb's actions, Brother Ron's actions, Brother Tommy's actions, will my actions make the world a better place for all men and women that I come in contact with to the best of my ability? I've heard many times, and you have too, and people say in church, well, if they're offended, that's just too bad. Really? Really? That's what we got? That's what we got? They might be offended. We may not be able to do anything about it. But to have an attitude, well, that's just too bad, that ain't going to quite cut it. So we've got to be more engaged. So when we look at life, do we work at making the world a better place for the men and women of our congregation, outside this church, etc.? Are we working to make better men and women of God? Or, Michelle, will I act badly and excuse my action? Excuse my action. No one acts perfectly, but there's things that we do and that we do wrong, and sometimes we have to take action to make it right. To make it right. Okay. Letting it just go is not okay. Yes, Sherry. Yes.
Somebody could be offended at me or any of us here just because we're Christians. We don't do anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do? What should we do? Or should we do anything? Just leave them alone? Or, I mean, how do you deal with that?
Any of the above. But you know, the one thing it comes down to, Sherry, as frustrating as it is in the world we live in today, as frustrating as it is, we must always do what is right. Sometimes we can talk to people. Sometimes we can talk to unsaved and we can reach out and establish a relationship. Many times we cannot, because the devil is running rampant. There is numbers. There's something I want you to keep in mind. And when you look at the numbers today on why people go to church and how they get into church and why they come and get started and stay and all the above, and people come and as they start a Christian life getting saved, it's relationship driven. It's relationship driven. So how we act to unsaved people, that is a big deal. They're looking for a friendship. They're looking for a relationship. But that's where a lot of people come into the church today and joining the church, giving their life to Christ. It's relationship driven. How they see us doing, how they see us acting, how they see us loving each other. The devil will tell us, oh, it don't make no difference. Yeah, it does. That's all we got. That's all we got, is the relationships we can build with each other. Abraham Lincoln, anybody ever heard of him? How many know him? He made one of the neatest quotes I've ever heard. I'm going to read it to us here. And every one of us will have the same desire as he did. Listen to this. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Die when I may, I would like it to be said of me that I always pulled up a weed and planted a flower where I thought a flower would grow." Think of that a little bit. I'm going to read it again. Abraham Lincoln once said, die when I may, I would like it to be said of me that I always pulled up a weed and planted a flower where I thought a flower would grow. Oh my, let that be me. Let that be you. My goodness sake, think of that. Richard, it just does something for our attitude. We look at situations and we see things going wrong. Let us be the flower planters. Let us be the ones pulling up the weeds and planting a flower.
And that came from a man who failed more than he succeeded. His failures were like off the charts that he hadn't documented compared to his failures. And to say something like that is pretty profound.
It really is pretty profound. He was Abraham Lincoln was one of the greatest men that has ever lived. And that does not come from me, but Abraham Lincoln, when he was in office as president, he had a man that despised him, stood against him on everything, every direction, every plan, every this, everything. He stood against him all that he could. Abraham dies. He's laying in the casket, and the man comes and he says, there lies the greatest leader of men the world has ever known. That's what he was said by the person that was against him all the time. A nemesis. So, sometimes we have a nemesis. Sometimes we have people that seems like that's what they're doing is all the time. So, I've got something else I want to, we've talked about our actions toward others as peacemakers. I want to talk about a peacemaker in your own heart. A peacemaker in your own heart. We can look, we're talking about Abraham Lincoln. Of course, Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War, we all know our history classes, we remember. And some of us even remember the Civil War when it was going on. I'm just not going to call any names. Not going to call any names, but that's... I did not, huh? I don't know. People are looking at you. I did not look at you. Yeah. That for another day. Now, let's talk about Civil War. Civil War can be going on in your own life. It can be going on in your own life. All right, everybody, get ready. Civil war in your own life. Dustin wants to do good every day of his life. He has 3 good days and then he has 2 bad days. Civil war. Civil war. One wanting him to go good, one wanting him to go bad. Civil war in your life. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will become the sons of God. All right? Young Lily back here. In her life as a young person, decision making every day. Every day. She must have the mindset of a peacemaker as well. Because in her young life, she has got to be at peace with God in relation to the life she is living. We must do the same. You might say, Ron, okay, I understand what you're saying there, but blessed are the peacemakers. How do we get there? How do we become a peacemaker in relation to ourselves? I make a commitment that I will dedicate myself to God every day. So Dustin, a change in his life where he has 3 good days and 2 bad days. On the other 2 bad days, he must make a decision and call himself out. Lord, help me to be the peacemaker in my own heart that I need to be today. The civil war that is raging in my heart, I'm trying to live for God and I have sin in my life. I'm trying to live and I have battles I've got to overcome. Pray to the Lord, ask the Lord to help you to win the Civil War battle in your life. It comes from a decision an absolute decision. I will follow God in relation to becoming a child or son of God. This is what this is saying. Anybody ever have any civil? When they taught this at that time, the highest achievement they felt that man could achieve, now everybody listen to this, the highest achievement they felt man could achieve was to have right relationships with other men. Or women, you know what I'm saying, mankind. That was the rabbis, they thought that was the highest level to be achieved, that I can get along with my brother. I love my brother. I care about my brother. I will make the sacrifices necessary to get along with my brother. He is a priority to God, thus making him a priority to me. Okay? So that's quite a challenge. So the rabbis, the relationship that I really, 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 really want, how bad do I want that relationship, that right relationship with Brother Ron, Brother David, Brother Brock, Brother Dustin? How badly do I want that relationship? That's the key. That's the call. That's the call of this right here. Okay? All right. Now, we get ready to close here. I've got something else I want to read. Not read, but talk about it. We always have people, we call them storm centers. They're always filled with trouble, bitterness, and strife. We have people like that. That's who they are. Sometimes we have them in church. Wherever they are, wherever they seem to be, they're constantly involved in some type of quarrel, fussing, or something with somebody. Drama, whatever. It follows them around. It follows them around. That's what they live for. That's what they want. Okay? Now, I've seen this in church as well, and you probably have also. The person that just wants to cause trouble, just wants to cause a problem, hurt somebody, tear somebody down, jealous, all the above, all of it sin. All of it sin, okay? But we have those people. We have them outside the church, at our workplace. We have them sometimes inside the church as well. Now, thankfully, I don't think we have anybody like that here at Ozark. But we have had. So that is something we must be aware of when those people are around. Discernment comes into play again, and that individual, we and the Lord will lead us that we need not get involved there. Okay? We need not get involved there. Or you'll be drug into the troubles, and if we're not careful and really got ourselves together, we will be drug into acting like that individual does. So instead of being the peacemaker that God wants, and being as a son of God, I'm acting like somebody that's outside the church living a heathen life.
Those people aren't looking for peace.
They're not looking for peace. Anything but. They're looking for anything but. So we, in God's house, let's say we encounter that individual. Let's say they are in our church. We still, here we go, the individual may be attacking you, or maybe attacking you or you. We still, even with that going on, I have a way God expects me to act. And retaliation is not one of the attributes of that. Not easy, didn't say that, but it happens. We must be aware. We must have our eyes open. We must be watching. Yes, Richard.
Well, I just read in the news some retaliation that you put on somebody else, God will pay it to you.
Yeah.
She was talking about retaliating against him, and God says, I will turn it on you.
Yeah.
So anything you do in retaliation on somebody, it's going to
It will come back. It will come back. I want, yes, Ron. Yeah, yeah. That's good advice. Hard to live sometime, but good advice. Now, I want us to live lives. Brother Brock would want us to live lives, and everybody here. We want to live lives to where bitterness in this heart cannot live. Oh. Now let's think about that a minute. We want to live a life, children of God. We want to live a life dedicated, prayed up, sanctified, all the above. We want to live a life so close to God that bitterness cannot live here. There is no room for that in this heart. That's where we all must pray to get to. So when Christ makes this statement, yes, brother.
Something years ago, my dad told me to know.
Yeah.
And one way to get to where you don't hardly have that in your heart is to take that word completely out of your vocabulary.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, hate's like the big F word.
Yep. Now your dad, that's Al.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Like that fellow. Reminds me of my father. I think I've shared that with you. He's a great guy. Great guy. Every time I see him, I just, Now,
Also, if you pray for the person, you can't hate someone your friend.
no, there's a mix there. That's diametrically, that's like trying to push two magnet opposites together. With what? Yeah. Yeah, just like, yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I wasn't allowed to say it as a child. Yeah. I had an excellent memory too. I had an excellent memory. My father was so good at reminding me only once to not do something again. He was really good at that. Really good. I was a really quick learner. Really quick learner. I know a lot of you were as well. So, okay. All right, everybody. Time is up. Church, bridge the gulfs, heal the wounds. Bridge the gulfs, heal the wounds. Anytime we have that opportunity, we want to use discernment. We want to love people. We want to think about it. We want to pray about it. We want to sleep on it. We do all the above, whatever the leading is. But we want to follow God in His direction. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the sons of God. Okay? What a lesson. Isn't that a beautiful lesson? What a beautiful lesson. What a challenging lesson. It's a challenging one, isn't it? It is. John, did you have any comments? Crabby. I'll pay for that later. John is one of these close friends, like in church, he just, oh, I'm so quiet, and I just sit here. Ron's mean to me, but please know that in a public setting, John will get me back. Okay? It's not all one-sided, and he's not harmless. Yes.
You can't have peace until you have peace of God. You have peace with God. Because He's the one that gives us the peace. He's the one that gives us the peace. That through a repentant heart, that's how we receive peace.
Yep. It's a beautiful study. The words of Christ. He sent, again, let's refresh our memories on where we are. His disciples, Christ is just starting his earthly ministries. He's 30 years old. He's just starting. He's got the disciples, and he's got them rounded up together. Here's class time. So when Christ sat down early on with the disciples, this is class time, early class time. These are the things he wanted them to know and live and do. And here we are. Okay, everyone, you've been wonderful.